The main impediments standing in the way of the time of choosing are, of course, the faulty ideas harbored by any given individual. A belief in heaven or hell, under certain conditions, can be equally disadvantageous. Some will refuse to accept the idea of further work, development, and challenge, believing instead that conventional heaven situations are the only possibility. For some time they may indeed inhabit such an environment, until they learn through their own experience that existence demands development, and that such a heaven would be sterile, boring, and indeed deadly. Then they are ready for the time of choosing. Others may insist that because of their transgressions they will be cast into hell. Because of the force of such belief, they may for some time actually encounter such conditions. In either case, however, there are always teachers available. They try to get through these false beliefs. In the Hades conditions, the individuals come somewhat more quickly to their senses. Their own fears trigger within themselves the answering release. Their need, in other words, more quickly opens up the inner doorways of knowledge. Their state does not usually last long, therefore, as the heaven state. There is one point I would like to mention here. In all cases, the individual creates his experience. I say this again at the risk of repeating myself because this is a basic fact of all consciousness and existence. There are no special places or situations or conditions set apart after physical death in which any given personality must have experience. Suicides, as a class, for example, do not have any particular punishment meted out to them, nor is their condition any worse a priori. Any problems that were not faced in this life will, however, be faced in another one. This applies not only to suicides, however. A suicide may bring about his own death because he rejects existence on any but highly specific terms chosen by himself. In this case, then, of course he will have to learn differently. Many others, however, choose to deny experience while within the physical system, committing suicide quite as effectively while still physically alive. The conditions connected with an act of suicide are also important, and the inner reality and realization of the individual. I mention this here because many philosophies teach that suicides are met by a sort of special, almost vindictive fate, and such is not the case. However, if a person kills himself, believing that the act will annihilate his consciousness forever, then this false idea may severely impede his progress, for it will be further intensified by guilt. Again, teachers are available to explain the true situation. Various therapies are used. For example, the personality may be led back to the events prior to the decision. Then the personality is allowed to change the decision. An amnesia effect is induced so that the suicide itself is forgotten. Only later is the individual informed of the act, when he is better able to face it and understand it. It goes without saying that an obsession with earthly concerns also acts in the same manner. In such instances, often the personality will insist upon focusing his perceptive abilities and energies towards physical existence. This is a psychic refusal to accept the face of death. The individual knows quite well that he is dead in your terms, but he refuses to complete the psychic separation. There are instances, of course, where the individuals concerned do not realize the fact of death. It is not a matter of refusing to accept it, but a lack of perception. In this state, such an individual will also be obsessed with earthly concerns, and wander, perhaps bewildered, throughout his own home and surroundings. A belief in demons is highly disadvantageous after death, as it is during physical existence. A systematized theology of opposites is also detrimental. If you believe, for example, that all good must be balanced by evil, then you bind yourself into a system of reality that is highly limiting, and that contains within it the seeds of great torment. In such a system, even good becomes suspect, because an equal evil is seen to follow it. The good versus devil, angels versus demons, the gulf between animals and angels, all these distortions are impediments. The intellect says, if there is good, there must be evil, for it wants things explained in neat parcels. If there is an up, there must be a down. There must be balance. The inner self, however, realizes that in much larger terms, evil is simply ignorance, that up and down are neat terms applied to space which knows no such directions. A strong belief in such opposing forces is highly detrimental, however, for it prevents an understanding of the facts of inner unity and of oneness, of interconnections and of cooperation. A belief, therefore, an obsessional belief in such opposing factors, is perhaps the most detrimental element, not only after death, but during any existence. There are some individuals who have never experienced during physical life that sense of harmony and oneness in which such opposing factors merge. Such individuals have many stages to go through following transition.
According to Elias, this depends on the person's beliefs, and the person's perception of their reality. When we die, we are basically moving from one environment to another, bringing with us the same challenges, the same problems, if any. In the case of suicide, we continue to create the same type of experience in reality, with the same difficulties that caused us to commit suicide. Depending on the beliefs and the challenges that the person was experiencing, the afterlife experience will appear very physical. For some time, a person may not even see the subtle differences. He also says, you will continue to create what is familiar to you. That is, the appearance of your physical world and your physical reality, which is being generated by your perception. You will, in other words, temporarily continue to create through your perception a physical reality which appears to you to be as solid as the one you just left. With time, you will eventually become aware that you are actually not interacting with other people, but with your own self. So he says, if you're presently experiencing confusion, which is causing you to put an end to your own life, After death, you may actually experience even more confusion, because you'd be moving yourself into areas of consciousness that complicate things, so to speak. Because once you remove yourself from linear time and the slowness of physical reality, depending on the person and the beliefs involved, things can become more complicated. It's actually easier to address to your troubles while you are in physical reality than when in non-physical reality. You may continue within physical focus, or you may disengage physical focus. In either choice, you will continue to experience what you're creating presently. For you have created this particular issue and this particular challenge within self. You have chosen to be offering yourself this challenge to be exploring. Therefore, you will explore this challenge, regardless of which area of consciousness you choose to explore it within.